You interested in meeting God? The God you can interact with, the God of the template or temple. Which is it? Is there even a difference? Not in the world of analogs. I'll show you how that works. I know what this is, and if you are into the supernatural and God is an entity out there that you need to hang on to, this is not your video. God, I take the material and I turn inward with it, and all of the components in the story become something in the psyche or in the inner world. So God doesn't exist out there, God exists in here, and it's accessible. And the stories are written in such a way to contain that there and to have it all functional. However, it's written in such a way that the masses of the population who are not going to turn inward, who aren't going to ground things, who need some kind of, I'm going to hang on to, I don't like reality. I want fantasy. That's the vast majority of humans. The vast majority. How much of the world is religious? That's the vast majority of humans. Who turns it inwards and find reality? The few chosen, not the many called. Okay, after having said all of that, because it's right in the material itself, it's telling us, hey, many are called, few are chosen, and people go, oh, I'm grabbing this book. That means I'm chosen. But you watch people from the outside like that, and you realize they don't live the material. They hold the material. They try to beat people with the material. They don't even know what the material is. And what their version is of God is 33,000 different denominations and millions of people. I guarantee if you sat all of them down and talked to them, you would come up with a million different answers of what God is. Once you turn this inward and you find the template, you got one choice. One. There's one God. There's no other possibilities. You don't get to go all over the place. It becomes very fixed, very grounded, very interactive. For the few chosen. It turns inward. You have to enter the narrow gate with the material. All right, but I'm going to tell you already that the material interpreted tells us that most people are not going to do that, that few are going to be chosen. However, the people that carry it think that they are the few chosen. It's very clever. Here, carry this secret. It's for you. So then when you interpret it, you go, oh, yeah, there's a template in there. Thanks for carrying that for me. An arc carries things. It's another variant of an arc, a carrier of the template. The thing is that it is difficult to see, and not many people are going to, and that's still the puzzle to me. But I also realize in my life as I look back on it, I didn't see it right off the bat. I wasn't taught that. I wasn't shown to find it or anything like that. And, you know, at some point in time in life, you realize it is visible, but it takes a certain set of things to get there. And part of it has to be a mind state. And what I've come down to believing is that, honestly, the way that we evolved, that we would have evolved in big groups. Eventually, we're in big groups, and boy, that's a food-rich environment for animals, isn't it? Yeah, there's a massive humans over there, weak, soft, yum, tasty, taste like chicken. We would have been good targets. So what do? Huddle up in a group and, stand there with spears or rocks or something like that. What's eventually going to happen over time is that what I see happen is that brain types change in there. There's some that are optimized for hunting and foraging, following orders. There's people that are going to lead the group. Few are alpha males. Most of the people are followers, but there's going to be some people that end up being introverted. They can't stand this massive group. That's like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. We still need the group for survival, but we're going to migrate to the outskirts and we're going to stand out where it's a little bit quieter. And out here we are exposed. We can see the group, we can see the environment, but we're going to be more sensitive. We can sense our environment much better. We've got something else going on because we can't stand the mass, so we're driven out. And now you better be more sensitive, and you're helping the group. You're actually in a different position, and those are the people right there that have the potential to find this. But even then, you have to be taught this, or you have to go through experiences that bring you there to it. And I believe that's why it's few chosen. People have to really turn inward. I believe it's also viewable academically. You could look at that and say, I see how that works. Joseph Campbell, he's the one that found the original monomyth. And, in recent times, obviously it's been there for a long time. This was once well known in the storytelling culture. So at any rate, they're playing out these stories using terms that are analogous for something in the psyche. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. That means God also transitions in if we're using it. Either a variety of gods or one God. You know, it's funny, or what's interesting, ironic, whatever, once you see how the analogs are working, even the multiple God or the one God transition that's BS. What did we have in multiple gods? Greek things earlier on, the Babylonians, they're creating all these characters. Gods are just strong things. My earlier self is a god because when it acted out, it had power. I couldn't stop it for this reason or that reason, or those are all evil gods. We get up into those mythologies and there's one powerful god, but there's other gods that are doing a variety of things. These are our qualities and characteristics. However, to carry it in a population, it looks like myth. Well, that doesn't sound very real. You make it one god and suddenly it's like, oh, okay, I think somehow that hooks in a little bit differently. We've got a different story going on. However, we still need all those bad things. What do we do? Okay, well, we'll just put in some fallen angels and demons, jinns, things like that. They're still doing the same thing. They're just calling it different names. Okay, I hope I've unpacked that enough. I think if people follow my work, you already know this anyway. You get where I'm coming from. God is the higher self. God is the higher self. But it's kind of we have a consciousness. Right now we're using our conscious, okay? We are listening, we're engaging, we're consciously putting out information, taking in information. This is our conscious in action. But in the background, what we're taking in is going into our subconscious. So at this moment in time, we're feeding ourselves. We're feeding our mind. And what we're feeding it is what it is going to become. The nature of that, the way that we feel about it and the way we understand it is going to become a part of us. And that is the subconscious. And that is being built in when we're not paying attention anymore, when we're not focused on something and we're just going throughout the day and thinking of something else. You might be driving or doing something and we're functioning in the background. We can see that there are multiple parts of us beginning to emerge. When we're kids, you can't. You got to think about everything you do. As we grow and develop, we become more multifaceted as an individual. We've got different brain functions coming into play that are acting out or that create... They create our life and our flow through life. And the things that we learn that are good are wonderful things, good offspring. The things we learn that are bad offspring, and they emerge. They will continue to act out, and they continue to guide our life. So those four things are there. We got a conscious, we got a subconscious, we got all the things that we're storing in the subconscious, the quality and the nature of it, which are going to be offspring or demons, all kinds of stuff like that, fallen angels, all that. And the flow that we go through, the Tao, the way we function through life. And where is God in that? God is the higher being. God starts off, we don't pay attention to it. We don't know that it's there if we're not raised in an environment. We become really, initially we live through our life experiences. Those life experiences, how we identify ourselves. You say, I am that. I am this. I had all these things happen, so I am this person. We become that. Somebody else who started out in life the same as you, but was raised in a different environment, didn't have those things, they became something different. They're just mental processes. We have to know that. And let me clarify that mental process. They're actually physical experiences. We have to look at the entire chain of things going on. It's a physical experience that we're having, that we're judging, evaluating with. That's a physical experience right there. So we tend to not go beyond that. What we need to do to realize what is creating who and what we are is the way that we evaluate, the way we experience, the way we store it away is a mental process. And it's going to continue to be a mental process that continues to create conditions for our life to keep flowing along the lines of what we have in there that, well, whether it's resolved or not, that's there. You have to be at a point where you see that. And, anyway. So when I say it's a mental process, I mean that today, here, currently, the way that our life is working is based on the electrochemical storage of the experience we had and the emotional state that we had with them, and how they continued to perpetuate and grow and accumulate and become a bigger structure. That is mental. As within, so without. Life experience is based on what we have stored, evaluated, hold, and the way we continue to judge it as we move through life. The way we continue to judge it through life. Part of our enlightenment is to get rid of that beginning. I don't want to be attached to that anymore. And judging, that's analogous too. Remembering all of this plays out in the psyche. That means if I say I'm not judging something because I'm watching somebody do something and I don't care. It's their business. They're not hurting anybody else or hurting anything. They're doing what they want to, and I don't care. I'm not connected with that. That's not what not judging means. Judging is what we're holding stored up here that continues to affect the quality of our life. There's more to this story than just this physical, don't judge things, everything will be all right. It doesn't work. Life still has problems. It's the stuff that we have judged in the past that is still stored. We once judged, we became, now we must go back and unjudge or rejudge. That's what we're looking to do, but we need God, our higher being, to do that. The people that stand on the outside edge somehow have a connection with a bigger field. These are the people that can get here experientially. I think some people can never see it, that big massive group in there. They need something supernatural. This is hard work, and it's painful. They're not going to do it. Those are the ones that hold on to the religions. We are the ones that have to take the religions and extract the template because they're all built on that template. Okay, I get off like that. God is the higher being. God is that part of you that can step outside of yourself. And I can only say that I can describe it now. And I've done it. I've done this all my life. However, I didn't know that I didn't know it was a thing. I can remember being in trouble, getting yelled at. And, a lot of times when you might be standing there sheepish or something like that, I would step outside of myself. I remember I could sit there and watch myself getting yelled at by somebody while I'm thinking to myself, whatever that person thinks doesn't even matter. And, I can only describe it. And if you're the right person, you'll go, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think that there's just people that automatically do it, where you can be yourself having the emotional experience going, I don't like this. Or you can step outside of yourself and look at it and you don't feel the emotional experience. It's as if you've stepped outside of yourself somehow. And in doing so, you're able to observe all of the things going on without the emotional attachment to it. That can be difficult because if you're really hurt about something, it's really easy to get sucked back into now I'm the victim again. We're trying to gradually practice and work at that higher being until it's stronger, or until our connection with it is much better, until we're familiar with it, we see what it's for, how it works. It's really like the cosmic background, but we have a conscious connection to it somehow. It's a weird thing, because we can mentally experience it even though we're not emotionally having the experience. It's like a higher mental place that we get to, or that we can get to. That's it. Chosen means, damn it, I'm going in. But you got to be one of the few to begin with. It's going to be rare. That's what I extract from the material. That's not me teaching what I think. That's me saying, this is what all of these guys are saying along the way. The many are called, the few are chosen. Enter the narrow gate. Many stand outside, where the paths are many that lead to destruction, but only the solitary will enter in. That's just Jesus. I've been standing on the lip of insanity, knocking, wanting to know reasons. The door opens. I've been knocking from the inside, roomy. And you could go on and on about that. All of these sound magical and mystical, but if you stand there, look at them and go, oh my God, you can't even figure those out. They're just beautiful. Yeah, they're analogous terms that play out in the psyche, and they can be figured out to the right person. That's the God of the temple. Templet, both. The template is based on my life. Who and what I am is my temple. Doesn't matter. It's my kingdom. It's my world. It's my earth. I need to purge it. It's my Jericho. It's become evil. I have to surround it, tear it down. Who does that? The chosen person. Go read the story. So-and-so, Yeah, you find who's chosen and go see what they do. And it gets more complicated in the Bible. The old stuff is very, they're creating a pathway, a network, a story network. This is their media. It is. This is like people waiting for the next show to come on. Where's the next story? We got Enoch. All right. Yeah. And today we treat them like, oh my gosh, the mass is treating it like it's real. Of course, they got different realities all over the place with one template. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to figure this out? How are we supposed to get this into humanity? How are we supposed to get everybody to turn inward and stop looking outward? And if it's not religion and myth, God, what? People let that stuff go and go, I'm not even interested in that. But I believe the pyramids were made by aliens, they'll go off all over the place into some fantasy world. I'll find sites on Jesus going to, India, Tibet, or channels, talking about that, all of these things that you're like, there's a template there for crying out loud. The stories are built at that time using names and places and characters on this template. Who wants the template? Nobody. Well, then what fantasy? Atlantis sank. We didn't go to the moon. Lost ancient high technology. There is a world of denial of looking inward, but no shortage of looking outward. None at all. You want to meet God? God's yours. It's your God. Just stand there and think about something that hurts you from your past. And practice stepping outside yourself and looking at it until you don't feel the pain, until you know once you leave this position and go back into living your life, you're going to feel it. But at this moment, you can step outside of it and look at it and be detached from it. That's God right there. You need to connect with that. It's the higher being, actually, is probably a more proper way to call it today. But in the material, it is what they're using. The God analog is that right there. That's what it means. It's not supernatural. It's functional. It's interactive. You can do something with it. You don't have to sit there and worship it and wait till you die. You can heal now. Think about that. Ever have times in your life where you're like, okay, I'm going to give it a try. I believe you, God. I believe you, Jesus. I do. Please lift my sins. Make me feel better. And you do all of that stuff. And later on, you're like, I still feel the same damn way. I'm still hurt. That stuff still happened. I'm still acting out. I'm still angry. God didn't heal anything. That's just making you feel better. What happens when we harbor things inside of us that we don't want to deal with, that we don't want to see, they're hurtful, or we somehow are connected with them in a way? The higher being, I remember just pulling myself out in space and looking at planet Earth and seeing down there this massive organism down there, humanity, just emerging, acting like animals and all that kind of stuff, and that I'm in the midst of that. But I'm way out here looking at it going, yeah, I see everybody's having these monstrous experiences, holy smokes, and I'm in the middle of that. These are the things that I start doing with my higher being that help me begin to look at my own situation and realize I'm not unique. I'm in a mass. I've experienced what probably many, many, many people have experienced and don't want to deal with. And they're going to live their lives hurt from it, while I'm going to use God to heal. I'm going to look in and say, oh, okay, I see what happened. Yeah, you come from a place where this is what happens. And you need to get out of your little victim status because you're bigger than that. You want to rise above it. You cannot rise above it as long as you hang on to that going, oh, this happened to me. Wah, wah. And I don't mean to make light of that. Some people have been very hurt. I talk about my pain, but I tell you what, there's people out there that, girls that have been raised in environments where they're raped, molested repeatedly. We all have our own stories. The thing is you want to use your higher being, no matter who you are, to realize you are a existence emerging from that pool of humanity and that you want to rise above it. And that helps you begin to look at things and go, yeah, You know what? I did this one time. I did that. I did stupid stuff. Stupid stuff happened to me. I got shot. The higher being is what helps us get above that. Practice going there. Practice living from there. When we do that a lot, what happens is after a while, that becomes kind of your go-to. You're using the higher being to go back and gradually remove the emotional memories. I got molested. I hate that person. Okay. You got molested. You can't hate that person. You can't be ashamed because you're holding that pain and that shame and that hate, and that is continuing to be a part of your life. It was a physical experience, but now it's mental, and as within, so without. Unwrap it. We have to take these and make them, the fallen angels get trapped away. They don't get killed. They get rendered ineffective. That's when we look back and go, yeah, this thing happened to me that I'm so ashamed of. I was never going to tell anybody. Now it's like, psh, it doesn't bother me. When I talk about molestation, there was a time I would never have said anything. You see what happens. There's a time it bothered me so bad. It was like, oh my God, people will think I'm the worst piece of crap in the world. We get wrapped up in that kind of stuff in our own thinking. We tear ourselves up in our fear and our shame and our pain, our emotional states, when we're not in control of them. But the physical world experience created us, and that we can now change the way we are by changing the way we're holding on to our experiences, okay? That's all I wanted to say in this video. I've been holding back on this one because it's maybe not the most comfortable thing to talk about for some people. But the reality of it is most of us live through just those 4 component parts. Those 4, that's the creation myth right there. Creation will get you to conscious, subconscious, all of your offspring, and the way you flow in life. If you want to take the hero's journey or the healing path, then you have to have God engaged. You have to have the higher self engaged. You have to be chosen. You have to walk with God. You have to somehow, you look at the beginning of those stories and it's like, yeah, these are all people that are connected with their higher being, going back to fix something. And remembering that the analogs can be backwards. Don't look at the analogs with emotion. If I'm going to eat in the physical world, that's okay. If I'm going to eat in the spiritual world, that's okay. If I want to strip naked in the physical world and be in public, that's not okay. If I'm going to strip naked in the spiritual world and be in public, that's exactly what I want. So see, watch the terms when you're reading through things. We don't want to be covered in the spiritual world. We want to be uncovered. You want to be able to stand naked before people. And what does that sound like? What that means is, you got nothing on me. Say what you want. I've already let it all out. I got no fears what you're going to find out. It's all out. I don't have a problem with it. That's what happens. Anyway, okay. Practice that. It takes a while, but I didn't know that. It just gradually, you're kind of processing and figuring it out and putting yourself into it and realizing what they're doing. So we're trying to unlock based on all of the template stuff that's going on. And some places include things that another teaching in a template might not. You might have one teaching might tell you it's difficult to return from the path. You're going to have to go through changes. Another one, live happily ever after. There's differences in there, but when we look at life, we can figure it all out. Making that inward transition anyway. Okay. God, practice. Practice standing outside yourself and seeing yourself from an emotionally detached perspective. The more you can do that, the more you can then begin to start healing those things and looking at the stuff that you don't want to look at. When we don't want to look at them, they stay strong. We don't understand them. We need to look at them in order to make them weak. We don't want to look at them because they're emotionally hurt. We need the higher being to look at them for the consciousness. Okay? You might even be sitting there going, oh my God, I'm crying, I'm remembering this thing. Well, there's another part of you going, yeah, it's okay. It's okay, let it out. We're all engaged at the same time, but instead of just letting the emotional one take over, you remember that the higher one is there and you're keeping that in play. And eventually what happens is that you go back and revisit that over and over again. And pretty soon you're like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm okay. I mean, you got to revisit it in a lot of different ways. There's more to that, and let me know if you were interested in a video on that. I'm still trying to extract the template. I think I got all the template. I don't know that I can find anything different in there. It's just a matter of finding it in more places. Anyway, all right. Have fun with this video. Talk to God. It's right there. Love one another. See you in the next video.